What's up, Aridity Man? Back, welcome to a brand new video, and today I own a startling lack of Mothra merch. I've got some plushies back there which are cool. I've got like a Monster Arts, I've got an X Plus, but for one of my favorite kaiju, I don't own enough Mothra merch. Which is why I'm quite hyped to be reviewing the new Playmates Giant Mothra from Godzilla Kong the New Empire. This is of course from Playmates' Wave 2 of Godzilla X Kong figures, and I'm pretty happy about this one. So let's do it. Yeah, so Playmates has released a new Mothra from Godzilla Kong the New Empire, and I do love the design. This is obviously like a reworked version of the Michael Dougherty Mothra from Godzilla King of the Monsters 2019, which is a design that grew on me over time, mostly because I loved the Mothra colors in the King of the Monsters movie. And I actually think GVK makes some pretty meaningful updates to the design, making Mothra a little more plump and a lot fuzzier like her original Toho iterations, which was pretty cool. And so I was very excited to see that they started to release Mothra figures for New Empire, and today we will be checking out the Playmates Giant Mothra. Is there a normal sized Mothra, like a 6-inch? I don't know. Please let me know down below. If there is, I have not only not seen it, I haven't even heard of it. Starting out as always, I think the New Empire boxes are pretty sick. I always love the color palette, the crystal thing going on. I like that it's got the pyramids coming down towards each other. Godzilla and Kong looking great in here as always. Good on the front, good on the side. Here's just more crystals. On the back, you've got a really nice picture of the Mothra figure. She looks great. I like the Mothra font there. I like this weird kind of techno-y aesthetic of the pyramids coming down towards each other. That's pretty cool. And then obviously Mothra's right here, bam, right there on display. Let's check her out. Alright, and here's Mothra out of the packaging. There she is, looking pretty cool actually. For context, here's how big Mothra is without her wings compared to the evolved Godzilla, the giant evolved Godzilla from Playmates. So you can see incredibly tiny figure comparative to Godzilla. She can kind of sit on him. That's pretty much scale accurate because Mothra is actually kind of tiny compared to Godzilla, especially in the MonsterVerse. Wasn't always the case, but in the MonsterVerse, Mothra is kind of small compared to Godzilla. So it kind of makes sense that she'd be this tiny in comparison. I like that they did that. But this is the way Mothra comes out of the gate. She comes with her wings off. She's just got her two backup wings. The supporting wings are here. And one thing that's very interesting is that of all of the Mothra figures, ooh, that makes a real crisp sound when you turn them, doesn't it? Of all of the Mothra figures, this is the only one that's placed her sub-wings up front. And I think it's because in New Empire, they've kind of shrunk Mothra's body down a bit, so she's not as elongated as she was in King of the Monsters, and as a result, her back wings wind up being moved forward until they're under the main wings. I think if I was to honestly go with one design over the other, I think I would pick the King of the Monsters design just because I thought it looked more like a combat-ready Mothra. I think GXK's does look more like a support Mothra, and I do think King of the Monsters looked more capable in combat, which I liked. That's actually what grew on me so much about the character over time. Boy, those did not go on as intuitively as you would think or hope. That was actually kind of a painful process, literally. Also, I don't know if you can tell by where the movie's at in the background, but it took longer than it should have. Made us miss the entire gravity battle. Alright, well, so if you're a kid who's getting these things, or if you're getting these for a kid, be warned, the wings don't go on as intuitively or nicely as you'd hope or expect. So an adult's probably gonna have to be the one to put these things on because they're kind of tricky. There's no real like trick to it either. You just kind of gotta jam it in there and hope it doesn't snap on your finger in the process. But there she is with the wingspan. Actually looks pretty freaking cool, man. Okay, I got curious, so I went and measured it. Her wingspan, when you measure it, especially if you flex it, she's got a 23-inch wingspan. She's big. She is big. She's gonna take up a lot of space. I'm not complaining though. I think that's awesome. All right, so here is the Playmates Giant Mothra, and you can see when you put her together, now it makes sense why they've got the wing placed where it does. It does look like it does in the movie, where, like I said, they've kind of squished Mothra's body down so the wing got pushed up a little, and so now it looks a little more like this. It also makes it so that when her wings are straight up, they look pretty much in line with each other. Very King of the Monsters-y from this attack pose. They do make pretty ugly crunching noises when you flap it, though. That's kind of annoying. But But other than that, here's the Mothra. She's got a 3-inch body and then, like I said, a 23-inch wingspan, basically. All right, well, I think Playmates has done actually a pretty decent job with this figure. The actual overall silhouette sculpt of this thing looks pretty decent. She's got a good body shape, good body proportions. I think the sizing looks about right. The wingspan looks great in relation to the body. The wings have the right shape. They've got the overall silhouette of the 2019 and 2024 Mothras. That's great. The face itself could have used a little more detail, and that's something that Playmates definitely has going on overall, but the sculpt is not the worst. She's got her antenna sculpted on her head. She's got some hair. Her eyes look a little fuzzy. She does have a little mouth sculpted on there, and then there is like little details around her chin. Her big arms do have muscles detailed into them, as well as you can see where all of the hands turn to pincers. On her back feet, you can see muscle details, some veins, which is cool, and then her hooves. Is that what we're calling them? Hooves? I don't know. That's kind of what they look like. On her belly, she's got some detailing under her head, where she's got a little fur tuft. She's also got the abdomen, which has some layering to it, as well as the pincer-ish thing sticking off the end there. Although, does the 2024 Mothra have a stinger? I don't know. They don't really show it, but I think she does. And there it is. It's on the figure as well. Other than that, she's got all the legs she's supposed to have. She's got all 6, and she's ready for action. That's pretty cool, man. I like the size of it. The paint is pretty simplistic. She's got a brown body overall, which is fine, I suppose. She does have some black shading, which do have gradients where it goes from the black to the brown, which looks pretty good, especially on the back. I'm glad they included that. The stinger itself is painted black with a gradient, which I appreciate. The feet are painted black, as well as all of her claws have black gradients. Her arms themselves have some shading to them, some shadowing, which is pretty cool. The face has big white circles around her blue eyes, which looks just like Mothra in the movie. Good stuff. And then interestingly, that's where the paint ends, because she's brown overall, and they've covered the wings with enormous stickers, which I don't love. And I don't love it for a couple reasons. Number one, they can peel off and just fall off, and then she's just naked. Number two, if you can see, mine's got a bunch of air pockets, a bunch of air holes in the stickers, which I think looks really cheap. I understand that painting the plastic can be a little expensive, but when all of your market competitors do it, you probably should do it as well. The only market competitor that I think is in the same ballpark here was Jakks Pacific back in 2019 with King of the Monsters. As for articulation, it's pretty much what you'd expect with a Mothra. Her head can't turn, unfortunately, and neither can her front arms, but her big arms can raise up and down. While they don't have the biggest range of motion, it's nice that she does have the ability to move her arms there, and it lets her do some attacks. She can at least slice and dice with those. Her back feet can also raise up and kick down. One thing I really appreciate is that they can go out to the side, just like her arms. That's pretty cool. Lets you get her in this giant, like, splattered position, which really makes her look like a praying mantis. Or it lets you bring all her limbs in real nice and close and defensively. The wings themselves, if you have noticed, they can flap, which I do like. I'm glad they can. They can also rotate, which is really cool. So not only can the big wings rotate, they can flap independently. The little wings can also flap independently and rotate independently, which will allow you to position Mothra in a pretty good range of motion for a Mothra figure, especially one of this price range. This was only like a $25 figure, so it was in a pretty good price range. And that's Mothra. The only other thing she comes with is this little stand that you can plug right into her stomach. And I am so happy they added this, because this lets you display your Mothra with her flying in the air. I am so happy they did that. No one else does that. No one else includes a stand for their Mothras when you're in this type of kids toy range. The only way you get that is if you get into the middle to higher end figures like your NECAs or your Monster Arts or your Haya. Your lower end Bandai's, Jakks Pacifics, typically Playmates, they wouldn't include this. So I'm really glad they did. It's very cool, and I'm very happy they did. I'm not even gonna complain that she's got a giant hole in her stomach, because, you know, the only other way you could do that is if you include like a little plug that you could put into her belly and then take out. But at that point, that's a small accessory, and that feels like it's raising the quality of the figure to maybe out of the price range that it's in. So I'm totally down for it the way it is. Let's run through our figure comparisons here really quickly, starting with the teeny tiny Playmates Mothra. This was from the Blind Crystal unboxing. You can see it is just teeny compared to her. It disappears into her. It is so small. It's about 1.5 inches, and it's also got the sticker wings, which fell off, and I had to glue them on. So I'm not too excited about the sticker wings here. There's that. King of the Monsters frustratingly had a lack of Mothra merchandise, which sucks, because I loved the King of the Monsters Mothra. It is my favorite version of that character. Here's the Jakks Pacific King of the Monsters Mothra from 2019. You can see it is tiny compared to the new one, and I really appreciate that the new Mothra has these beautiful wings, which are printouts from the movie. They look incredibly accurate to Godzilla Kong the New Empire. These are about as accurate as you could get. I do believe these are based on either the CG model or the concept art. They look a little little more concept arty to me. The ones in GXK have much darker black lines running throughout, and I actually think this looked a little prettier on a figure. This one from King of the Monsters was like all red. The wing pattern does not resemble Mothra in King of the Monsters at all. It was a really strange choice for a figure, especially in a movie where Mothra spends 90% of the screen time blue. So there's the two of them next to each other. Unfortunately, we never got a bigger Mothra figure from Jakks Pacific back in the day. No 6-inch and no giant, that's for sure. And so this is what we were stuck with, and so, oh my god, this is just so superior to that. I would say that the new giant Mothra from Playmates has become the queen of the Monsters figures. She is the best kids toy market Mothra you could get for the MonsterVerse. I firmly believe that. She is outshined in terms of quality by something like the NECA or the Monster Arts, so there's them next to each other, but you can see she's a much bigger figure, obviously meant for a very different market, not only in terms of scale and size, but also in terms of quality, and so those two you really can't compare as well, but I wanted to show those guys off next to each other just so you could see them. Just for another comparison here is a Bandai Rainbow Mothra, and you can see she is way bigger than it, although their bodies are about the same size, about 3 inches. This one's wingspan, I would believe, is around 12 inches. As you can see here, it's kind of about half the size of the new Playmates Mothra. Uh-oh, Rodan, you're about to get your ass kicked, but here's Rodan from King of the Monsters, Jakks Pacific. Poor Rodan just does not stand a chance against a Mothra this big. And you can see here as well, his wingspan comes in at about 12 inches, making him about half the size of the new Mothra. But this is our best Rodan versus Mothra kids market comparison that we can get. And so I did want to show those guys off. Here's Mothra next to the 2019 Godzilla, looking like an absolute pair. I love it. I'm so happy to have it. Again, Jakks Pacific and then Playmates standing off against each other. And these two complement each other very well, finally completing the King of the Monsters duo in a way. Ooh. Here she is next to Evolved Godzilla from Godzilla Kong: The New Empire. Very cool. Obviously, these are the characters from the same movie, so they go together perfectly. And I do believe she is scaled accurate to the new Godzilla Evolved, so there they are. And then finally, the duo who I firmly believe needs to be in the next movie together, Mothra and Kong. I want this duo to team up more than I want Godzilla and Kong to team up again, because we've never seen the two of them work together as a pair before, and they are two monsters that I think complement each other so well, especially when you remember that 1961's Mothra was in some ways Ashiro Honda's gender-flipped remake of King Kong 1933. It was obviously sort of a twist on King Kong. But there you go, Kong and Mothra. A duo that I have been begging for ever since 2019, one that we have been on the verge of since 1966, and one that we are closer now more than ever to. So let's do it, guys. And then here's the trio. Finally completed! The Kings of the MonsterVerse! I'm counting Mothra as that. She's a king. She's a king in my books. Look at them, man. Look at them. That is so cool. And that makes this whole thing worth it. Overall, I'm actually really happy with the giant Mothra from Playmates. I think it's a really solid figure. Don't love that the wings are made of stickers, but it does lead to them being very high quality and looking fantastic. Again, I do think they are based on concept art, but they look great. And Mothra overall looks pretty dang good. I'm liking it a lot. Big shout out Playmates for making this one. And I'm really glad that if they're going to do a Mothra, that they did do a Mothra in the big scale. I do feel like they would have done a 6-inch Mothra, so now I have to be on the hunt for that. Unless the curse continues, which I don't think it will, but if the curse continues where we just get weirdly scaled Mothra figures and we never get a middle ground MonsterVerse Mothra, that'll be kind of funny, but I will be annoyed about it. Overall, the Playmates Giant Mothra on a Playmates scale, alright, we're judging these against other Playmates figures. The sculpt is very solid. The paint looks great, especially the wings, even if they kind of cheated to get there. I'm very glad they included a base stand for her to float on. Putting her together was kind of a pain, but it comes together in the end, and she's actually got a pretty decent range of articulation, and so that is why I'm gonna give the new Playmates Giant Mothra from Godzilla Kong: The New Empire, aka Mothra 2024, a 9 out of 10. The only thing I wish they would have improved is the wings, as the sticker wings do make me a little nervous that they're gonna peel, and I'll have to glue them back on, especially because mine got those air bubbles in them. Hey, look at that. She hangs on very well. Good job, Mothra. Do you have the Playmates Giant Mothra? If so, comment below and let me know. I would love to hear what you guys think of it. I'm obviously very happy with it. As always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. It is through the support of the patrons that I'm able to make videos like this and review figures like this for you guys in the first place, and I really appreciate it. It really goes such a long way towards supporting this channel. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you guys next time for the next one. D-Man, out.